Same fate. You. A middle-aged man leading the opposing group trembled with rage, but upon glancing at his bloodied comrades behind him, he gritted his teeth and ultimately chose to yield. Fine. Take the chest. We are leaving. Such is the harsh reality. Without power, even the act of breathing becomes a transgression. Just as this band of survivors prepared to retreat and the buzzcut man readied himself to claim the spoils, a sudden, melodious chime resonated through the stone hall. As if from another realm, everyone froze in astonishment. The sound was utterly discordant, a stark contrast to the ominous atmosphere of the underground dungeon. Almost immediately, the air in the center of the hall rippled like water. A small wooden door adorned with colorful lanterns materialized out of thin air. A crooked sign hung from it. Reading, limited time sale at the Goblin Merchant. Creak. The door swung open. Out stepped a diminutive figure, barely half a man's height, with green skin, pointed ears, and a prominent nose. Dressed in a garishly colorful tailcoat and sporting exaggerated golden spectacles, he leaned on a staff embedded with a colossal gemstone. Welcome, welcome. The Goblin Merchant beamed widely, revealing a mouthful of golden teeth, his voice high-pitched and shrill. Esteemed adventurers. Who would have thought we'd encounter so many prime customers in such a desolate place? How fortunate. A profound silence engulfed the room. The buzzcut man's entourage, the scattered individuals, and even Jiang Li, concealed in the shadows, were all taken aback. Was there something amiss with this scene? Yet, the Goblin Merchant appeared unconcerned with their bewilderment. With a flourish of his staff, the silver treasure chest, which had been fiercely contended, suddenly flew to his feet as if drawn by an unseen magnet. Oh my, an unopened silver chest as an entry ticket? Splendid. It seems you all possess quite the sincerity. What are you doing? That is mine. The buzzcut man, seeing the chest snatched away, instinctively lunged forward to reclaim it. Impudent. The Goblin Merchant's expression darkened, his previously amiable demeanor transforming into something sinister. With a gentle tap of his staff against the ground, a terrifying bolt of purple lightning descended from above, striking the ground precisely where the buzzcut man had stood. The solid rock floor was instantly melted into a large pit, emitting wisps of smoke. The buzzcut man, paralyzed with fear, collapsed to the ground, his face as pale as a ghost. Had that lightning struck him directly, he would have been reduced to ashes. In my domain, one must adhere to my rules. The Goblin Merchant let out a disdainful grunt, only to swiftly alter his demeanor, donning the familiar smile of a cunning traitor. All right, let us foster goodwill for prosperity. Now that everyone is present, our limited-time merchant fair shall commence. A flicker of interest ignited within Jiang Li. It sounded like a unique NPC event, a rare opportunity indeed. Typically, such occurrences are triggered only in specific dungeons and at particular times, with an exceedingly low probability. The wares on offer would undoubtedly be exquisite treasures unseen in the outside world. Let us take a look, Jiang Li urged, pulling the still-dazed egg tart king into the light. As the auction was hosted by an NPC, it was assuredly a safe zone. Anyone with wealth could participate. The moment Jiang Li and her companion emerged, the gazes of others turned slightly hostile, yet none dared to act out under the Goblin Merchant's intimidating presence. A few scattered survivors mustered the courage to stay, for none wished to miss such a chance. Excellent. New customers have arrived. The Goblin Merchant nodded in satisfaction, gesturing grandly. 4 pedestals materialized before the crowd, each adorned with a protective light covering 4 different items. The first item. The Goblin Merchant pointed to the first pedestal, a network tablet. It bypasses network restrictions and grants access to major websites. Of course, this network only contains data backed up prior to the game's commencement. Only survivors wielding such items can access it. Starting bid, 20 ice tokens, or equivalent materials. Jiang Li's breath hitched. A tablet with internet access. This was a remarkable find. With such a device, her leisure time would never again be dull, even though she often found herself occupied. Yet, this item must be hers. Who could resist a tablet with internet in a frozen apocalypse? 25 tokens. Before Jiang Li could voice her bid, a henchman from the crew of the buzzcut man called out. 30. Another survivor player gritted their teeth and followed suit. 40. The buzzcut man clearly recognized the item's worth and immediately raised the bid. Jiang Li glanced at her backpack. Prior to this dungeon, she had accumulated 150 tokens through achievement rewards. However, it appeared she was not the only one to have completed hidden achievements. Others had inadvertently gathered some tokens as well. Just as she hesitated, she was pleasantly surprised to discover that the peculiar items dropped by minor monsters in her backpack, such as skulls and magic crystals, could be exchanged for ice tokens. Undead skull, worth 2 ice tokens. Mage's magic crystal, worth 3 ice tokens. She had collected quite a few of these during her monster farming sessions, totaling a value of 89 tokens. 45. With these as her backing, Jiang Li spoke calmly. Instantly, all eyes were drawn to her. The buzzcut man narrowed his eyes, scrutinizing Jiang Li. Clad in blood-stained workwear and armed with dual axes at her waist, she appeared somewhat disheveled, yet her composed aura instilled a sense of caution in him. 46. He retorted, unwilling to concede. Jiang Li remained expressionless. The man with a buzz cut gritted his teeth, exclaiming, 50. This is all I have. If you raise it again, I shall bid 51. However, Jiang Li interrupted his fierce proclamation with an unwavering calmness. The buzzcut man, visibly distressed as if he had swallowed a fly, could only glare at Jiang Li and ultimately conceded, abandoning his bid. Sold. The Goblin Merchant's grin was wide, revealing his teeth as he congratulated the lovely lady. This tablet is now yours. Jiang Li stepped forward, producing some dropped items to offset the tokens, and then took possession of the tablet, which stood out starkly against its surroundings. She merely activated the screen briefly before stowing it away in her backpack. In such circumstances, It was all too easy to incite envy in others, so it was prudent to keep it concealed. Next came the second item. The goblin merchant unveiled the cloth covering the second display. It revealed a seed radiating a soft green vitality, yet strangely, flickers of black electricity danced across its surface. Pumpkin guardian seed, he declared. This is no ordinary pumpkin. It is a magical plant, once sown and nurtured adequately. It will yield a multitude of sentient pumpkin warriors that can serve as guardians or even explosives, an impeccable choice for home security and travel. However, do be warned. They possess quite the temper and may nip at their owner's heels. The starting bid was set at 50 tokens. Magical plants? The crowd's eyes instantly brightened. A guardian for home security was a tantalizing prospect. I want that, exclaimed the egg-tart king, tugging at Jiang Li's sleeve in a hushed tone. Outside her camp was merely a wooden fence, and the roving zombies were quite terrifying. Her own combat prowess was lacking, making a guardian all the more essential. Jiang Li glanced at her, smiling gently. It's fine. If you desire it, go ahead and bid. I won't compete with you. 51, declared the egg-tart king first. Moreover, this item evidently piqued the interest of the buzzcut man's group. A plant that could serve as a guardian was a strategic asset for anyone. 60. After a brief consultation, the buzzcut man finally announced a new price. Ugh, 60 is rather steep. The egg-tart king's expression dimmed slightly. Her entire fortune amounted to merely 55 tokens. Shall I lend you some to compete? Jiang Li inquired. The egg-tart king hesitated but soon nodded appreciatively. No, it's all right. I'll just observe. Thank you, esteemed one. After all, she was uncertain of the specific capabilities of the magical plant and preferred not to owe Jiang Li a favor over something so ambiguous. 65. I shall take this. Just then, a cold voice emerged from the entrance of the stone hall. The crowd turned to see Pineapple Beer, who had parted ways with Jiang Li earlier, limping into the room. Half of her body was stained crimson with blood, indicating she bore serious injuries. Yet, in her hand, she clutched a blood-soaked bag. She tossed the bag to the goblin merchant, declaring, the materials within are worth 100 tokens. I will pay an additional 100 tokens. I will take all the remaining items. The goblin merchant received the bag, and, upon peering inside, his green bean-like eyes widened in astonishment. 2 boss cores. This is more than sufficient. However, I have yet to disclose what the last 2 rewards are. No need for that. I simply asked if you were selling. Pineapple Beer maintained a calm demeanor. Deal. All 3 items are yours. The goblin merchant wore a sycophantic smile, clearly eager to conclude the auction without further delay, as Pineapple Beer's bid had rendered him disinterested in prolonging the event. Chapter 33. The cunning NPC. The audience erupted in astonishment. Hey, isn't that rather domineering? From the Dark Knight Guild, a scarred man could no longer contain himself, exclaiming, without even discerning what the items were, you've monopolized the entire lot? This is an auction. Indeed. I too possess tokens. Why are we not allowed to bid? Others murmured their dissatisfaction from the crowd. Such blatant suppression of others' opportunities was bound to incite animosity among the attendees. Yet, Pineapple Beer paid no heed to the uproar, merely observing the commotion with quiet composure. The goblin merchant grinned widely, revealing a mouthful of gold teeth, his laughter carrying a hint of significance. Oh my, this esteemed guest is truly generous. I relish customers of such audacity. He offered no chance for dissent, directly waving his cane. The remaining items belong to this young lady. Until we meet again. As his words fell, the 3 items shielded by a luminescent barrier were instantly released, soaring into Pineapple Beer's backpack without allowing anyone a glimpse. This was nothing short of blatant favoritism. Pineapple Beer accepted the seeds but did not stow them away. Instead, she turned and casually tossed them to the egg-tart king, who stood nearby. Here, take this. Her voice was somewhat feeble, yet still commanding. I owe you a favor, and now I have repaid it. The crowd gasped in disbelief. How extravagant. A seed of immeasurable worth, given away so readily? The egg-tart king fumbled to catch the seed, tears nearly spilling from his eyes. Sister Pineapple Beer, how are you injured? Sob sob sob. The buzzcut man's expression was dark enough to drip with malice. He glared at Pineapple Beer, a tumult of greed and fury swirling within his gaze. Very well, he muttered through clenched teeth. However, the most exhilarating moment was yet to come. Just as the transaction concluded, a chime rang out. Ding dong. Congratulations to this young lady for earning the title of Goblin Merchant Trade Star. The Goblin Merchant, as if conjuring a trick, produced a silver treasure chest from behind him. As a reward, this chest is yours. What? The audience erupted once more. That silver treasure chest. It was the very item they had fought fiercely over earlier. How could it now be so freely bestowed upon Pineapple Beer? By what right? The buzzcut man could no longer contain himself, stepping forward to roar. This is unfair. Unfair? The goblin merchant cast a disdainful glance at him. His shrill voice laced with mockery. In my realm, those who bring me joy are deemed divine. As for you paupers, perhaps it would be best to remain silent. With that, he pushed the treasure chest toward Pineapple Beer, winking mysteriously, his beady eyes sparkling with a mischievous glint. However, he surveyed the surrounding players with unfriendly gazes, deliberately elongating his voice. During the trading process, my rules are absolute. No one is permitted to act violently here. However, once the guild meeting concludes, your affairs are your own. At that point, who lives and who dies is no concern of mine. He conveyed to everyone. For now, I will not allow you to fight, but once I depart, you may rely on your own abilities. After stating this, the goblin merchant elegantly doffed his hat to Pineapple Beer and Jiang Li, wearing a smile that suggested he was eager for the spectacle. Enjoy yourselves, he said, turning to walk through the illusory, neon wooden door. With a snap, the door vanished as if it had never existed, taking with it the crisp sound of a bell. What does this NPC mean? Is he inciting crime? Zhang Li couldn't help but scoff. With the supplies for egg tart dwindling, it was an unsuitable